I would just take it from the top and ask Patrick if you can describe the motivation incentives for Rewe and Alpgold to cover the costs of the biodiversity measures in the field. As we heard now from Lucas, in the last part, what he was explaining that it's not really about the valorization yet of the retailer, but more about the image. Can you, Patrick, what is your take on that?
Good questions. I'm not Alpgold, Lake Constance Foundation. So, but what's my experience in the discussions and the development of the project was that they are really dedicated to sustainability for years, as they are a family-driven company. And I think in the first year we tried to implement some biodiversity measures in the durum production directly. And we get the clear feedback from the farmers that they are not willing to do this. They don't want to have some biodiversity experiences or experiments in their field because the quality standard is quite high. So they have really to produce a very high quality. So that is the durum usable for Alpgold. So then we decided to change the project design and to say, okay, you produce your durum there. But then on this 10% of the durum wheat production area, you have to do something for biodiversity. And this was also a learning from IFA, but also from Lake Constance Foundation. We, right from the beginning, we told Alpgold, you will have to pay an incentive. If not, this will not be a long-term project or a long-term perspective for the farmers. They need incentives. So, and as the project design is quite clear. So there are perhaps 1,000 hectares of durum they produce per year for Alpgold. So there are 100 hectares of biodiversity area and 600 euros per. So it's quite good to calculate for Alpgold what is the amount of money every year. So perhaps this is also important for them. They know the amount of money they have to invest.
Yeah, thank you for this answer. The next question is an interesting one, but it's probably going to be a long talk about this because it's about the question that premium models, would they only work in times of low food prices? Because if, as we see it now, with the wheat prices exploding, consumers have to pay anyway more for the product, and are they then willing, or are the retailers or processors willing then to add even more premium because of the biodiversity measures? I mean, we have probably also to say that we live in very outstanding times now, and that's not the normal, and it's not true for all of the commodities, but for wheat it is right now. And I mean, after all, farmers have to think economically, and if they get so much money for their wheat right now, it's probably also hard to prevent them from using that 10% maybe also for the production of wheat, especially since we kind of are in need for wheat, since it's not really getting out of Ukraine right now. Does anybody want to take this this question further, or? Then maybe jump to the, or Patrick, you? Yeah.
To add something, because we really discussed that also with Alpgold, and so for years they tried to establish a fair partnership with the farmers. You know, they were paying always a higher price than usual. So then, from the perspective of Alpgold, this was really bad situation now. If the price development is going one year in the other direction, so the partnership is over. Because the farmers, and I understand that clearly, they want to have more profit from the situation. But let's say this is now an exceptional situation. But on the long term, I think the the idea of alcohol or the idea of this, let's work together, let's have a fair partnership on the same level, and we pay more. But on the other hand, the farmers should also think of a long-term perspective. But I know it's different for them because normally they are economically under strong pressure. But we should overcome this situation now, and biodiversity will still be in a heavy crisis also in 2 years.
I know. That's yeah, but especially with wheat, there is a special problem because there is a shortage not only in Europe but somewhere else. So farmers are trying to also bridge that gap a little bit. But I don't want to drag that out too much. Maybe could all the speakers put the camera on so we can be kind of in a discussion sort of setting. Thank you. We are almost done, but I like to kindly ask you to bear with me a little bit longer since we are a little bit behind. Christian Jochum again from the Austrian Chamber of Agriculture says actually, a label works if there's a certain awareness at the consumer side. This is for you, Ines, I think. Do you know which kind of consumers are buying these OWL products? Is this a certain niche or like a certain share of the consumers?
I totally agree with you, Christian, in a way that label at least works better when there is a certain awareness in the consumer side. But in this case, what farmers mention is like it attracted different kind of consumer groups. So group of people who were looking for alternative way of food production, and also attracted a group of people who were interested in bird watching. So bird watching associations were also interested in this kind of products. And what I also found interesting that they mentioned is like the consumers that they were already buying the products before they had the label. They were really interested in the project when they realized that the product was coming with a different label, and somehow they perceived that this strengthened their relation with their consumers. So it benefit also as well the consumers that they already had before, not only created new ones, but also the consumers that they were buying the products already.
Thank you, Ines. The next question is again from Mr. Jochum. He's asking, is there enough space for such sustainability practices between organic and conventional agriculture? Is local food maybe a kind of substitute for these issues? Who wants to take this one?
I can say something, but I'm not sure if I understood correctly, but as I understood it, I would not say it's a substitute, but it's a different kind of label, the local food label. At least in Spain is really important, and the local labels, when you have a label which says where is the product from or the geographical area, because there's a lot of territorial sense of people, and they are really, sometimes some consumers are not really aware of nature conservations, but they are more related with local products or with local production. So I would say it's an additional label, but not a substitution.
Yeah.
And maybe some thoughts from my side. I would say we should definitely combine both, specifically this regional aspect, but also, as I mentioned before, the question of so that consumer have a feeling for fair distribution. Yeah, so I would say a regional aspect, nature conservation. As we know, we need this regional approaches also for nature conservation. We could combine these quite well, I would say, or we should try to do these more. Then we use these advantages of consumer preferences, so to say, for this regional aspects also for nature conservation, and it really makes also sense in content-wise.
Lucas added that that the mice population will be reduced by the owls because Ines, you said earlier that the owls are very important in pest control. So the benefit for the farmers is also that that he has less problems with mice and probably also other insects or something. I don't know.
Yes, that's totally right. But more than mice, they have more problems related with rabbits. So they create rabbits.
Ah.
You know,
Yeah.
the rabbits. Yeah.
Rabbit.
Yes, because they create like big burrows close to the olive trees. And since they live kind of in a collective way, so there are a lot of animals in one burrow, they create a lot of damages in the roots and in the.
And an owl eats a whole rabbit? That's really news to me, but wow, that's good to know. Not leave my rabbit if I ever have one outside. Okay, next question. Is it an option to transfer Landwirtschaft für Artenvielfalt, Lukas, also to conventional farming? Is there an option?
Yes, it is definitely an option. And I guess it would be the future, because what Patrick Tröschler nicely presented is something which is very valuable, but we gained in the organic farming context very good insights in the whole fisting system and how farmers think on what they actually need. But I guess this is a very important step to push it to the 90% of our agricultural landscape area. And this is why I think all initiatives are very valuable. Of course, Rewe and Kaufland do as well something in this, and Farming for Biodiversity has a very comprehensive approach which could go there as well.
Well, that's good to know, because organic farming is still has quite a low share in the overall farming yet. Next question to the whole group. Consumers sometimes don't understand why it takes more effort to leave nature to its own. What would you tell them? Who wants to take this one? That's quite a, wow, half an hour monologue could follow here. Great, we don't really have time for such a long answer. Who wants to make it short? Lucas.
I would say, to keep it short, it must be production integrated to really make a big point. And otherwise, if you only have small protective areas, you won't get your society nourished. I would say it must be productive integrated, otherwise you will get a big impact.
Yes, thank you. I mean, probably the question was that also that that if you just don't do something on the area and some part of your area, then it doesn't cost you anything. But that's not true, right? You can't plant your original product there, so you lose time, and plus there's always a chance of you know, weeds going over this, growing on this plot, and it's kind of hard to get rid of them again. But Bettina, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, maybe we should more try to argue with the services this area provide than with the cost. Yes, because sometimes it's difficult to really give this overview. But I think if we can have or give more examples how valuable these kind of or these different measures and areas are, that could be an additional option.
Yes, there's positive and negative information again. I think paint a positive picture and not say what doesn't work. Okay, Patrick?
I just would like to strengthen that what Lucas said. I think,
Oh, you muted. You muted. Or at least I don't hear you. I don't know.
better now?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I would like just to strengthen what Lucas said, that one thing is the ecological structures we want to enhance, to promote, but on the other hand, we need much more in-crop measures. So we really have to adapt the production systems And that's perhaps also difficult to communicate to consumers because it's not so visible, the difference between a field with wheat production and undersowing or something like that. But on the other hand, you can clearly communicate what a flowering area is. And I'm absolutely convinced that we have to put our energy more in crop measures.
Right. Great range of projects. Do you see a saturation of the retailers and other actors of the value chain, or is there scope and demand for more? Well, I sure hope so. There's more scope and demand. I'm quite confident that does anybody has a more qualitative guess on this one? I think it's just starting.
There are still interested companies for our association, Food for Biodiversity. So I think so we had the front runner companies today also in our presentations, but I think now it's getting more and more mainstream.
Yeah.
And I think we're just at the beginning.
Yeah.
Big
That's what I
change.
think too. Yeah. ProPlanet in Austria. Oh yeah, I read that before. It has already expired, but it has been transferred to our project initiative Flowering Austria. That's just as a side note. As we are a little bit late, I would go now and present my takeaways from this webinar. Does anybody has another comment, statement? Otherwise, I would wrap up and close. Oh, there's one more. Let's do that one. More strict conditions, controls, fewer farmers willing to participate, but strict condition controls needed for consumer credibility. How to balance these? That's a very good question. And that is also one of my takeaways, actually, that we heard from Bettina and we heard also from Patrick, that there's a label, there has also been to be monitoring, right? And to guarantee the achievements of the objectives and increase the trust in the label, obviously. But setting up such a system could require high initial payments or costs for the schemes or for the processors or retailers. So yeah, the idea also is that you can collaborate with existing structures, like if Patrick says maybe NGOs or other structures. Indeed, there is a trial in the Netherlands now. You might know that they have this agricultural collectives over there, and they are trialing it now also a collaboration with or integration of the value chain approach, like a collaboration with some companies who trust the agricultural collectives, which are also certified to certify, so to say, that the measures are implemented correctly. And that makes sense. And if we jump onto that wagon and use the structures who are already there and indicators and all of that, it could help to reduce the costs a little bit and take away maybe what is the word? Schrecken for companies to dare this step to go into this direction. And we saw that there is demand and willingness to pay for products who contribute to sustainability. That's good news, even though not all of the processors or retailers are giving the cost to the consumers yet, which is also very fair, I feel, to maybe build up this kind of scheme or system, or like, just really establish it first. We heard also today how important it is that all partners of the value chain need to be committed to the same goal and support each other's efforts. And there needs to be a clear set and obligation for all involved partners. And yeah, what we also saw, and Patrick and also Lucas made that quite clear, and Ines too, that it is vital to communicate the added value, to have really a very elaborated marketing strategy, and tell the story to get the consumers on board. And yes, but I just want to say, from my perspective, from the perspective of the farmers, so to say, that is really important, that we leave no one behind and that we don't burden some partners unproportionally. And I feel that webinars like this can contribute to put that topic on the table and to ask the right questions, which our audience did today. Thank you so much for that, and thank all of the presenters for their valuable insights into their work and experiences. And yeah, on this note, I would close the webinar and say thank you and goodbye. And yeah, indeed, bon appetit.